Hello, I'm your host, Jean-Paul Baran, President of Focus on the Family Canada. Welcome to The Thriving Family, a Focus on the Family Canada podcast. This is the space where family, faith, and culture intersect. You can enjoy the Thriving Family podcast ad-free without any interruptions, thanks to generous donors who support our ministry. In this season of the podcast, we're talking about God's full life for you. Along with sound bites on marriage, parenting, and life challenges, we're bringing intimate conversations with leaders from a wide range of ministry backgrounds and life experiences, who have all generously taken the time to share their heart with you. If you like what you hear, be sure to rate the episode wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to check out each episode notes for related resources and for how to support the Thriving Family podcast. Today, it's my great pleasure to introduce Jason Weening. Jason and his wife, Allie, are parents to 10 energy-filled children. In addition to the time he spends with his family and career, Jason also runs multiple platforms to support other dads. You can find all his resources on his website, heydads.ca. We talked about navigating fatherhood, the influences competing for our children's attention, and striving to be our children's most positive and prominent influence. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today with Jason Weening, and it's a great privilege to have him.
Thanks, JP. It's a great privilege to be here. I really appreciate it.
It's like the common phrase of every podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very honored.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've read a bit about you. I've actually seen some of your other interviews, and what comes to mind is how you're a man that seems to never sleep. Yeah, you are alive and full of presence and smiling. I see that right now as you smile as we start this. If you could paint a picture of a typical day in your family, especially your part as a husband and dad of 10 kids.
Yes, it is busy. It is fun. It is full of conflict. It is not rainbows and lollipops every day. That's for sure. But yes, honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. There's always new ideas and new projects, and I should be spending more time with my kids. I think lots of dads and husbands and fathers are probably, we maybe put that pressure on ourselves. But, a typical day, I work from home. I'm in my home office right now. Literally, the baby was just sleeping in the room next to me, and 5 minutes ago, I'm like, the baby's awake. I'm getting ready to do an interview, so can we move her out? So yeah, but working from home, and we homeschool our 10 kids. They're aged 1 to almost 20. Our oldest is 19. So we've got all the ages. We've got a set of twins in there, 7 girls and 3 boys. So there's lots of excitement going on here. I try to help my wife as much as I can with the homeschooling, but honestly, who does the homeschooling around here? It's her for sure. So grateful for her. We've got 8 acres out here in Saskatchewan, so we've got a couple calves, yearlings. We've never had calves before. We're the rookies trying to figure that out. They escaped the other day. We were running all around the countryside trying to catch our calves. We had a couple pigs that we just harvested about 2 months ago, so we did that for the first time. Had some friends come over and help us with that. So there are always activities going on around here. That's for sure.
I can imagine. I have the silliest question, but do you guys, when you go out, like for an ice cream or even church, we'll say, is it 2 cars? Do you have a cargo Sprinter minivan, kind of like huge extended van, or how do you even get all the car seats in there?
Yes, sir. We have a big 15-passenger GMC Savannah. It's actually our second one. My wife flipped the first one on its side in a snowstorm. Couple years ago, everyone was fine. That was good. But yes, we do drive a giant big van. We drove 2 vehicles for probably about a year when we had our twins born. We had an 8-passenger van, and we had 7 people in our family. And I thought, great, if we have another baby, we've got 1 spot left for the baby. And I guess God didn't like my plans, and my wife came home from the ultrasound with a DVD of the ultrasound, and this was our 6th child, I think, at the time. I'd seen ultrasounds before. She's like, no, look at it. And I look at it and I see like the static black and white, alien heads in there. I'm like, are there two in there? She's like, yes, we're having twins. And my first thought was, oh, we got to buy a big van because we don't have enough seats in our van. So we
Oh,
saved
that's funny.
actually to pay cash for our van. So we saved and drove two vehicles for almost a year. And anyways, we were able to get our van. But
Are you a one-car family then, or?
we are a one-car family right now, but with four teenagers in the house now and people working and stuff. I was looking on Marketplace for a little car yesterday. It's like, I think we need to boost up the fleet.
Oh, I totally get it. We, we have something in common with us. Susan and I, we've been married 29 years, coming in November. And for 25 of those years, we were a one-car family. And it wasn't until roughly 4 years ago, I was walking to get a car. There's a car share program in the city of Vancouver. It was November evening, pouring rain, typical Vancouver weather. I'm 49 or 50 years old at the time, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to get another car because this is becoming too much with the kids. And we only have two girls, but just going in separate directions for whatever activities they're doing, youth nights, church activities, or their soccer that they were doing. And we're just like, they're not at the same time anymore. And so, okay, we broke down with two cars. So kudos to you. I always am impressed with somebody that can actually manage with a one-car family and with children, let alone 10. I do have a question on, just kind of what we're touching on, the typical day as your family breaking it down. I don't want to go into the chaos piece of just raising kids. It's not chaos, that's the wrong word. Just being a dad and being a supportive husband, which you touched on, your wife generally does the homeschool. I want to just go a little deeper in how do you carve time for yourself and spend not only for yourself, that what gives Jason life, but how do you spend time alone with God when there's so many other things going on? You got 8 acres, the calves now, pigs, all of that. How do you do that?
That is a great question, and I wish I had a great answer for it, but I'll tell you how it is. And someone was talking to me, maybe it was on a podcast I heard, like when you're growing up and you're a young person, and I did some ministry stuff in my younger years, like I'm going to have my 1 hour quiet time in the morning and read my Bible, and you think, that's just it. And then you get married and you have kids, and it's like, okay, I don't know, unless I'm super disciplined, and I would not say that I am, but there's some people that get up super early and do that. I think part of it is involving our kids in some of that stuff. And it may be, so this morning I sat on the side of my bed for a few minutes. I'm reading about Abraham. I read a chapter of Genesis, prayed for a few minutes, and then a bunch of my kids wanted to go running. We've started running at the last 2 weeks, not forever, not marathons or anything, JP, like you were telling me you do, but we ran a couple kilometers this morning, and I had 4 kids running with me from
Oh,
age
that's
9 to
awesome.
age 13. So some were biking, some were running. But I think, and then, you're reading your Bible and a little child comes in and sits on your lap and maybe you read with them. And I think it's got to just be integrated. And it's realizing that it's not just me, but part of being a husband and a father and a dad is integrating our family into our hobbies, like running, etc., into our spiritual life, reading, taking that moment after a meal, reading the Bible, praying, spending that time together as a family. I'd love to say I spend an hour in prayer and worship every morning, but that is not true. I carve out a few minutes each morning to read my Bible, and then there's other times through the day where we're bringing our family into it.
Yeah, I love that's such a heartwarming answer. Thank you for being honest too. It's like, Christian men and in ministries, like, oh yeah, they must spend hours reading the Bible. How do they do that? And I'm just like you. It's challenging to find time to carve a way to spend time with our Lord. And I really resonate with what you said is, and I use a different frame of terminology. I'll say monkey see, monkey do in our house. If my children see us eating in front of a TV and watching TV, they are going to take up those same habits. But they see us. We don't allow phones at our table when we eat dinner, and I have been like pushed on that with my children, saying, Papa, what happened to the rule, right? So we put the phones away and we spend dinner time together almost every night. We start it in prayer, and a lot of times are really busy. Like it's sit down, as you know, and then eat and gone because there's stuff going on, but at least we're together. And then there's times you have these great conversations. But I really resonated when you said just taking the time and reading your Bible, and then the little one comes on your lap and reads it. They start doing those things. They will do what mom and dad does. And one of the blessings I've seen in our house is our girls are a bit older now, 19 and 17. But their Bibles are beside their bed. And I've seen them reading the Bible, like as I peek in their room, and I'm like, wow, where did that come from? And it's really simple. They've seen me and Susan do the same thing. And we've had people come over. I wonder if you had this, but we have people come over to our house, and they're like, and I'll paint the picture. My children grew up going to Christian elementary and high school, and so you think the crowd is a good Christian crowd, and they are for the most part. So we have friends come in our house. They're like, "Wow, your mom and dad, they sit down and eat dinner together as a family, and you guys do that?" And my kids are like, "Yeah, that's normal." And they're like, "Not in our house. Like, no one, we don't even use the table, right? It's like a storage." And I always found that fascinating where parents don't do that. So I'm really, really in awe, actually, of how you do that and maintain that. And I think to myself, I have no excuse not to. I only have two, and you got eight plus.
It is intentional. Our kids played soccer for a while, and we found there was a soccer league in our town. Everyone plays on the same night. So the 6-year-olds and the 14-year-olds, there's like 20 soccer fields.
Oh, that's
everyone
fantastic.
plays on the same night. So literally, I tell people, there's not enough nights in the week for all my kids to play a different sport or something. So we're intentional about we'll go skating at the arena on family night with the whole family, and we'll do that activity because you nailed it. Like sitting at home around the table is becoming a lost art, a lost habit, a lost thing. But studies, I've read some research and some different things about even having family meals together reduces the chances of sexual activity in teenagers. Just that, through studies they've done and research, just being a meal a week, a meal a day, one meal a day at the table makes a big difference in the sexual life of teenagers. It's like, we probably would not have come to that conclusion ourselves that is a factor, but it matters, JP.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's just the connection with mom and dad, spending more time with them. Children crave connection with something, and they want to get it from their mom and dad, and when they don't, they start searching elsewhere, whatever that is. And society is shown that a stable home, not taking the misconception of stability equating to money, a stable home is a mom and dad that are there nurturing and raising their children. And from that, you'll have the high possibility of the children growing up in a way where they're showing a lot different traits than they would if they didn't have that stability. And that's one of the things that Focus on the Family Canada really thrives on how to instill biblically based tools for families, and families are stretched in every single way, and have been for a long time. And it's always heart wrenching for me when I hear of families going through really hard times, and then how it affects the children that they have. And when you are in a scenario where conflict happens, and I know I'm going down a different path here, but just sharing as a dad, and we'll get into your ministry in a second. But as a dad, life isn't always rosy for me and Susan.
Are you kidding me? You mean you as the president of Focus on the Family Canada don't have like a perfect, holy, sacred, wonderful
I do not. I do not.
Wow.
Not even close. We have a normal relationship, which means occasionally we argue, um, and it happens most of the time. It's my fault, to be very honest.
Welcome to the club.
It's we argue, but we do it in a way where we show grace and love to each other. We put God in the forefront of our marriage. And there are days that there are days that I just wake up grumpy, and there's days choosing to wake up grumpy. You have a bad sleep, and it's an effect. But we spend time communicating with each other and leaning on God on building our relationship. I honestly feel if I didn't have the Lord in my life, I would have a really, really rocky marriage. And our kids see that. They see that mom and dad aren't perfect, and they're totally fine with it. And touching on that is in my role as president at Focus Canada, that was one of the things I struggled with. I've been in the role now for just over 4 years, and when I was approached about this, I was like, "Well, there's no way I'm the right person. I mean, I I I I am I am broken in every single way, and I don't have that white picket fence. I have at the time a fence that was falling over, and that was just our life. I mean, you come to our house, if you're ever there, you'll see life is in our house, and I really dug deep into that, which will segue me into, thanks for what we're sharing here. I want to hear more about the story and the road that led you to create the Hey Dads platform. And when did that passion first spark? And how have you kept that spark alive over the years? And in your busyness, how do you keep that going?
Yeah, I think that I think God has put a burden, a desire in my heart. It's been 25 years that I had a mentor this is in 2000, so 25 years ago. And it was in a ministry program I was doing. And he was talking about, guys, you are not married yet, but you need to be preparing now. You're going to be husbands and fathers someday. So he created a club and we were focused on becoming better husbands and better fathers before we became husbands and fathers. And he would always
Wow.
say, what one man could do, another man can do. So if there's a man in your life that is a great businessman, you can learn from him, take him out for coffee, copy what he does, and learn from him. If there's a grandfatherly type figure, if you don't have a grandfather that you look up to or a father, there are other godly men in your community that you can learn from and grow from. And if he can do it, you can do it. What one man can do, another man can do. My dad was a great dad. So this doesn't come from a place of hurt or anything. And so Heath, my mentor, he really just put that spark in my heart at a young age. And then going through college, I started a club with the small group guys in my church, and we were doing the same thing. How can we become better husbands and better fathers? And we'd read books like Wild at Heart by John Eldredge, and like, what can we learn? How can we learn and grow? So when we get married, we are somewhat prepared. Because the example Heath would use, like you get your driver's license at 16 and you study a test and you do a written test and you do a driver's test. That's for driving. How many years, how much hours, how much time do you spend learning and figuring out how to be a husband and father? If you're a plumber, you do an apprenticeship. If you're a doctor, you do 8 years or more of school for your career. How many years are you studied to be a husband and father? So the answer was 0, basically, for most of us. And so
Yeah.
that seed was planted through the years, been involved in youth ministry and men's ministry in my church. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I just started putting little videos on Facebook primarily, just like a 30-second, hey dads, it's Jason here. We're building a snow fort in the backyard with my kids. Hey, why don't you put your phone down and go build a snow fort with your kids? So I was posting these videos, and eventually family and friends, they'd see me walk in a room and be like, hey dads, hey dads, hey dads. And just because I would start my video with that. Anyways, then I got a website, and hey dads kind of just became the thing. But honestly, the heart I think is just a burden that comes from the Lord. And seeing friends in my church, these are godly men, these are small group leaders, these are house church leaders. One of them even said this to me. He said, use me as an example. He came over to speaking of dinner time, he came over to our house for dinner. He was in the middle of separation, and he sat down at our table, and after dinner he said, we never did this with our kids. you're doing everything we've never done. We literally sat down and had dinner, and we maybe prayed after dinner. We've certainly prayed
Wow.
before it. I don't even know. He's like, we just never did this. And he said, use me as an example. Like, and so all those things you just said about how it impacts your kids, they're separated, they're divorced now. It's been a few years. And so that burden for friends like that, these are guys in my community. I just felt, how can I support, help, talk about my own mistakes? I make a lot of mistakes. I'm really great at saying sorry. Just, it sounds like you are too, JP.
Oh, I say no, almost a yes. I say a
Right.
lot of
So
stories. You touched on one thing that I think is great, is preparing to be a dad before you're a dad. A lot of times when people get married, including myself, it was like, we're going to get married. I hear this often, and it's like, okay, we're going to do we're engaged. So we're doing the premarital stage to get ready for marriage. But that happens after you're already engaged. And depending on how long that engagement is of the courtship, it might be short, it might be long. But I'm always super impressed when I hear I'm in somebody who's dating, and they're like, well, we're in a marital prep because we think it's going to go down that road. So why not invest now? And I love when you sharing about prepping to be a dad. I look back going, I wish I had a playbook. I didn't have the best example of what it's like for my earthly father. Sure, have a great one from our heavenly father. But how much more I would have improved, not only as a dad, but also as a spouse. And also to carry that card around, even thinking to myself, like, if I met Susan at that time and she's like, I'm recording, I could just imagine myself 29 years or 30 years ago now going, I'm in a men's group preparing myself to be a better husband and to be a better dad. I just would love to hear her reaction if it was like either it would scare her off, or she would have been like, this is great. This guy's like ready for he's preparing for the future. I think more dads, not just Christian dads, more dads in general, I can imagine they wish. I've never heard a dad say, I'm great at what I do. And it would be so great if more men in particular would say, for instance, I knew I wanted to be a dad before I knew Susan. I knew God had that calling on me. I would have been great to have said to myself, God, let me start investing in that now, because I know that is in your will. And if it happens, I want to be prepped for it. So as a father myself, I find that each of my daughters need me to lead with a different part of my heart. I have a daughter that is more introverted, and I have a daughter that's more extroverted. And I hate to put them in a box, but as a simple term, that's the way they are. They also have different love languages of how I connect with them. And I just want to explore how you do that in connecting with each of your children and how you've evolved that over time.
Yeah, that is a great question, and tons of conversations I have with dads. That is the question. Like, how do you make time for everyone? And they're all different and unique. And we've got 10 different and unique people in our home. So how do you do it? And I think it comes back to what I said earlier about integrating our kids into our lives wherever we can. I interviewed someone on my podcast, and he said our goal is to raise adults, not to raise kids. So what are things we're doing to include our kids in our lives? So I gave the example, we ran this morning. I ran with 2 9-year-olds and an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. Sometimes they wake me up to run. Sometimes I wake them up to run. I've done a couple Tough Mudder races. We were talking about that before we went on, and with my teenage daughters, so you get to a point, I love it as my kids are getting older, that things that bring me life and energy and fun and hobbies, I can now integrate my children into this. And now some of them don't like running and they're not out running, right? And some of them don't like doing a Tough Mudder and they don't ever want to do it. Music is another way that we do that. We're planning to do a Christmas concert in December. Last night we had our first practice in the living room. People are playing guitars or keyboard or whatever. Someone told me if you have instruments, just get instruments in your house. Someone will maybe pick it up. So before anyone played a guitar, we got a guitar, and we had a piano in the house, and people we have a trumpet. Nobody plays it. I'm kind of grateful for that. Our 4-year-old wants to play it.
How about a drum set? You got a drum set?
I'm a drummer, so that was where I was going with that, is now integrating our kids on Sunday. We have a practice tonight. My 13-year-old son's playing electric guitar at worship practice, and I'm playing drums. And Sunday, we're
I
playing on the
love it.
worship team at church.
Yeah.
So integrating our kids into our hobbies. Are you familiar with Toastmasters, like the public speaking?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
group? So I joined Toastmasters about a year and a half ago. And almost every Toastmasters meeting weekly, I'll bring one of my kids along. I brought a 6-year-old to a Toastmasters meeting. I brought 9-year-olds to a Toastmasters meeting. And integrating them, I've gone to a video conference and brought my teenage daughter who is interested in learning about videography. So integrating our kids in, you're going away on a business trip. Could you take one of your kids with you, an older kid maybe? Do you have a meeting with someone at lunch in town? Can you bring a younger kid with you and they can eat their French fries while you're in the meeting? So Deuteronomy 6 talks about love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then talk about it when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you walk by the way, when you sit down, when you rise up. This is not going to an event once a year spiritually with our family. No, this is every single day when we're driving in the van with goldfish and Cheerios squished into the seat and people fighting because they crossed the line in the seat beside them. And those are the daily things, JP, that are...
I remember those. Yeah.
It's those
You're on
moments.
my side. Oh, wow. That's so great. Yes, I believe in that as well. Like integrating your family and all that you do. And then it just becomes normal for them, and connecting with the kids in a different way. I have a simple saying in my house with my friends. So with Susan and I, we have a simple saying. Now that the kids are older, when they ask if they want to spend time with us, the answer is, it's just one answer. It's always yes. It does not matter what's going on. And the way I looked at it, I can't remember who it was, but it was sharing with me how dads, in particular dads, will have this portrayal that they're busy or an important individual. But nothing is more important than being a dad. And so when your child is talking to you and you're on your phone and looking at it and you're not even making eye contact, the kids resonate with that. They see that. But nothing is more empowering to a child when they ask you to do something and you say yes. You don't tell them that you moved a business meeting or whatever it is, or you were planning to you don't give them the background, because when they hear that, then they're like, they could feel the guilt of like, oh, it's okay. And that, or they'll hear, oh yeah, I could do it, but I have to, and they see the face and the reactions. Our reaction has always been yes. And they say it. Sometimes we don't really want to do it, but we do it anyways. And I look at it as a gift from God, and our story, and those that know my story, it's a gift that we have children, Susan and I. And the gift that you have your children as well, Jason. It's a gift from our Savior, Jesus Christ. And our Father gave his only Son to us, made that ultimate sacrifice to do that. And then that Son took away our sins. How can I say no to my child when they want to do something and rob them of that relationship? And they will remember that for years and years to come. Like now my children, I'm sure you have the same story. They come to us and like, do you remember that time we did this? Or we went on this, it's a crazy adventure or whatever it was. Or we drove for an hour to find ice cream, and all these little things. And they really resonate with that. And so again, thank you for sharing how you do that with your time and how you incorporate your whole life around what you do in the ministry work and including your children.
I feel like you're convicting me here, because literally 2 days ago, my 19-year-old said, like, what is today? Thursday? On Tuesday, she's like, Dad, could you have like 2 hours? We could maybe go out for breakfast, something. And I was like, I got this. And now you're just telling me, JP, you're like, say yes to her and do it with a smile and move whatever you need to do. And I'm like, why did I even like hesitate? Because it just happened. Like, thank you. That's a great reminder, JP.
Well,
yes.
You're very welcome. Life happens, and there'll be a time your children want to spend, and I pray for every dad that they have a great relationship with their father and mother, and in this case, dads. There'll be a time where your kids are not going to want to spend time with you. It's not because they don't love you. It's because their life happens. I spend less time with my mom now my dad has passed away. I spent less time with him as I got older and had my own kids, my own family. And it's just a natural progression. I got married and I spent less time with them, and Christmases and events, they just change. So I look at it as when a child asks their parent to do something, just remember that this is a moment that's not going to be there forever, and hold on to that moment as long as you can. So say yes for the breakfast, take her out for breakfast, and it'll be a great, great morning. I've never heard, regardless in the secular world or the Christian world, where you change an appointment and you say to the person that you're meeting, truthfully say, hey, my child asked me to do something. Most of the time they're like, good for you. I wish I'd done that, right? It's really cool. And then you might plant that seed with another parent, and they'll say, hey, you know what? I heard from Jason that he took time off. What a gift. I think I'm going to start implementing that in my life.
Yes.
There's so many influencers out there right now, voices available to parents to explore, including Focus on the Family Canada. And it can sometimes be, really overwhelming to sort through all that stuff that's out there. In your opinion, what separates the substance from the noise that we hear?
That is a great question. And aren't we all struggling with that? You've already said it, like you're looking at your phone and your kid's tugging on your shirt like, hey, dad, and you're probably not even looking at something important. But I was listening to a podcast last week.
I'm generally looking at sports highlights.
Yeah, exactly. Politics, sports, construction accidents, and forklifts driving off loading docks. Like that is...
what I look at.
I was listening to a podcast last week, and they said, it was about creating content. They said there are 4 billion pieces of content created every single day. And this could be a picture and you post it. It could be a video. So that means every 2 days, JP, there are 8 billion pieces of content being produced. That is a piece of content for every single person on the planet every 2 days. It's insane. It's crazy. So how do we deal with all of this? And I think the answer, and I'll give my wife the credit for this because she talks about the verse in the Bible that talks about going back to the ancient paths, going back to the ancient ways. Look at the older generations and what happened before us. So how do we differentiate between the substance and the fluff? I think we have to look at what is aligning with the ancient ways. We live in a culture that does not want to do anything biblically, but boy, having families and children and moms and dads, like that is key to a thriving country, a thriving community, a thriving culture. And our society is throwing family under the bus like crazy. We did a small group study at our church last fall. I think it was Following the Way by John Mark Comer. And he was talking about different spiritual practices like silence and solitude, like fasting, like taking time to just get away, like Jesus went out in the wilderness to be quiet and to think. And even research and science will say going for a walk or a quiet time outside helps your mental health and helps everything and stirs creativity.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is looking at what aligns with the ancient paths and the ancient ways and the good things that are biblical and wholesome, and not just accepting every brand new influencer, YouTuber, media personality that comes out with the newest parenting idea and the newest thing.
Yeah.
Newest does not mean best. Newest does not mean wise. Newest does not mean God's goodness. Newest means new. So I think we need to get back to the ancient ways.
That's very well said. I feel we have so much information these days, and information seems to be people interpret having information as knowledge when it's actually not. And as I look at like raising children, we look at it from our ministry of Focus Canada as with biblical truths that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. It is nothing new under the sun. It is not rocket science to say, let's eat and break bread together. Not only as a family, but in friendships. Those are where the roots of a long-lasting relationship start and last. So yeah, thank you for, just, hammering that piece home. You have a large following of listeners, and you, I'm sure they come to you and they speak about, where they are, how you spoke into their hearts. What kind of things do you hear from other dads, and what are on their hearts in this season that we're in as Canadians?
That's very flattering. I don't know if I have a large population of listeners, but hopefully there are some people listening. Um,
At least there's one. I'm listening now to you, so
ah,
there's one.
great. My
And,
kids
and
don't
did
even
your
listen to
daughter,
me.
did your child leave the room? So there's two. There could possibly be two people listening.
Oh, that's funny. Um, I spoke at a couple conferences this spring, some homeschooling conferences, and talking to dads after the talk or at my booth or whatever. You've already asked the question, and it comes up again and again: is how do you spend time with your kids? How do you prioritize your family? How do you have work-life balance? I don't love that phrase, but that is the phrase that we hear.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's I see guys like you and me, JP, and encouraging men as chief reminding officers. And I didn't dream
Good
that
one.
up. You're
Yeah.
probably familiar with Patrick Lencioni. He's written a
Yes.
few books like Five Dysfunctions of a Team. In one of his books, he says, in our organizations, and he's talking about business leaders, and he's saying, you need to be the chief reminding officer. You're reminding your team about your mission. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are we And that's our job as men encouraging family. We are chief reminding officers. And so when I'm talking to other dads and moms, is just reminding them, hey, your most important organization is not your business. It's not even your ministry if you're in ministry. Your most important organization is under the roof of your own home, inside your own four walls. And you've said that already, like it is what matters most, being a husband, being a father. So I think just being those chief reminding officers in our conversations, wherever we are, and just reminding guys, you've got under your roof what matters most. So engage with it.
That's great. I think that leads into my follow, like the closing questions of what's one message you would share for any father listening, other than being the chief reminding officer. And not only just sticking to father or moving from fathers, what would be one thing for both a mother and a father that are listening to this right now, other than me and your child that are listening?
Those two.
Those,
Uh,
yeah.
I was thinking about this question, and I was reminded of something I read. I think it was by Todd Wilson, and he said in one of his books I was reading, he's like, God has given you your children. He did not give them to anybody else. So if you are feeling inadequate, if you are feeling like I I wasn't preparing to be a dad when I was 19. I don't know how to be a dad. I'm a mechanic. I am a working single mom that is trying to balance my schedule. You know, you don't have to have a PhD in the social sciences to be a dad or a mom. And so what Todd Wilson said was like, God has given you your children. They haven't gone to anyone else. And because he's given them to you, he's given you what you need to raise those children and to love them and to encourage them. So don't feel like you don't have what it takes, because God did not give those children to anybody else. He only gave them to you, and you have what it takes to raise those children, even if there's adopting situations and there's fostering situations, and those children are under your roof for a period of time, and God
Yeah.
has put them there. So don't feel like you don't have what it takes. You do have what it takes, and God is giving you what you need. And you're not perfect. None of us are, and that's okay.
Jason, thank you for those wonderful words of encouragement. Yes, God has given us the gift of being parents in whatever capacity that is. And we do have what it takes, even when we don't think that. Jason, it's been a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your story. We look forward to carrying that conversation again in the near future.
Thanks so much, JP.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jason and were encouraged by his heart and passion. Get to know him more on his website, heydads.ca. If you wish to talk about this further, or if it brought up something that you would like to talk through, you can have a free one-time consultation with one of our registered counselors at Focus on the Family Canada over the phone. Give us a call at 1-800-661-9800 to request a consult. It's our gift to you. Thanks for listening to today's episode of The Thriving Family, a podcast from Focus on the Family Canada. If you like this episode, please leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to subscribe. If you feel led, you can make a donation at focusonthefamily.ca/podcast giving, or find the link in the episode notes. This program is available ad-free because of the generosity of our donors. Most importantly, remember that we are here for you and your family.